Namaste and welcome to Indian Diplomacy, a show about India's role in the world, how India is shaping the emerging world order, India's relations with major countries, and also India's outlook on the world, India's foreign relations, and also its impact on the world. Normally, viewers, Indian Diplomacy, we look at one country and India's bilateral relationship with it, all the aspects and angles. But this time, it's a special episode. We are looking at India's global cultural diplomacy. Cultural diplomacy is a term closely associated with the idea of soft power and the notion that a country can be attractive inherently by virtue of its qualities, not because of its economic might or its military prowess, but something deeper, which is the essence of the soul of that country. India's cultural diplomacy is what we are covering in this episode of Indian Diplomacy. And to take us through this journey, I am really privileged to introduce to you our studio guest, none other than Dr. Vinay Sahasrabudhe. He is President of Indian Council for Cultural Relations and member of the Rajya Sabha, the upper house of India's parliament, and the ICCR, which he represents, is the official arm of the Indian government to promote Indian culture overseas and to make the whole world love, admire and respect India more. So Vinayji, it's really an honor that you have joined me today.
Thank you very much.
Vinayji, when we talk about Indian cultural diplomacy, Indian culture, one of the thoughts that comes to mind is that it's a civilisational state. People say that it's not a nation state, it's not like a modern nation state, it's the India that we have since 1947, its independence is a reflection of thousands of years of heritage, a very rich and glorious heritage and civilizational greatness. And your thoughts, Vinayji, on the essence of Indian culture and why it is so admired globally. Why do you think, what is it that is the USP of Indian culture that has universal values and appeal around the world?
Well, it reminds me of what Atalji had once said, that India is just not a land mass. It is not just a piece of land for that matter. But India is a living embodiment of what you rightly described, certain civilizational values, if I may describe it that way. And therefore, the idea of India, which makes India what India is today. And if I just reflect upon that idea of India or the major dimensions of that idea of India, at least as a student of international relations, if I may comment, there are 5 major dimensions. Firstly, it starts with our what I call as spiritual democracy, because we call it ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti, and we never kind of allowed any kind of monopoly of a particular way of worship, something which is very important, because world over today they are talking about multiculturalism and so on and so forth, but it is there in our blood
For thousands of years.
Yeah, nobody need to teach us. Then our idea of Antyodaya, when the world is still struggling with the binary of left or right, capitalism or socialism, we have our own way found out, and which is Antyodaya, which is a Gandhian concept, which is a concept propounded by Pandit Dindayal Upadhyay, where we say that the most deprived should be considered as the most deserved when you distribute the fruits of development for that matter. So this is the second important feature. The third important feature is our relationship with Mother Nature. Today, globally, they are discussing about climate change and the impact of it and sustainability and so on and so forth. We knew it. Every morning today, there are several families where they start their day by kind of seeking forgiveness from Mother Earth. Padas parsham kshamaswame, as what we call. So this is another feature. Third feature is our unity in diversity, or rather diversity in unity. Multiple languages, multiple lifestyles, multiple culinary and cuisine traditions stay together under one roof without quarreling, without kind of leg pulling.
Coexistence.
Coexistence, something very important. And the fifth and more important feature is we look at world as one family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And therefore, this is something so very essential aspect of India's world view for that matter, or the philosophical fundamentals of India, and therefore the idea of India. That sets us apart from other nations in the Committee of Nations.
Very well said. And Vinayji, the continuity of our civilization, I mean, we are talking about millennia, and it's continuously inhabited and with a core essence that goes back to the Vedic period. That is something that fascinates a lot of people around the world. As president of ICCR, you have engaged with so many countries around the world, and you see there's this category of what we call Indophiles around the world, people who love India and who think of India with great respect and reverence, especially because of its glorious past. So that aspect, Vinayji, how important is that as we go forward, because we are in the 21st century, but harking back to past golden eras is very important, because that's how people realize that this civilizational state is like a living organism for over 3,000 years.
See, the way the world and the global community are struggling with several challenges, including the challenge to our family system, there are social challenges, there are challenges to identity, and so on and so forth. I think people have to realize, have to understand the idea of India, which, as I said, comprises of these 5 civilizational values, and we are a civilizational society, no doubt about it. When that poet said, "Kya baat hai ki hasti mitati nahi hamari," it is this hasti. Yeah. It is because of these 5 principal kind of pillars on which our civilization has sustained, and not just sustained but grown over the millennia for that matter. But the problem here is that while India is very, very attractive, India is perhaps one of those few countries wherein we are enjoying kind of a fund of goodwill in every nook and corner of the globe. Wherever you go, say for a couple of countries in our neighborhood, everywhere India is loved, India is respected. And therefore this love, this goodwill, this respect is important.
And it's because we are providing solutions to contemporary problems.
But more important is the understanding about India. If you love somebody, it doesn't mean that you understand him or her. And therefore, we have to create that understanding about the idea of India, about Indian society, about our Indian culture. Once we do that, we can really command the soft power, which in a way we are already there. We already have.
Absolutely. Now, viewers, talking of soft power, the greatest exponent of soft power in contemporary times is none other than India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji. He has actually explained and elucidated this concept of soft power and made it integral to India's foreign policy. Let's listen in to what he had to say a few years ago about India's cultural heritage and soft power. Let's have a look.
वैश्विक संबंध में धीरे धीरे सॉफ्ट पावर मुख्य धारा बन गया है, और सॉफ्ट पावर के द्वारा ही वैश्विक संबंधों को ऊर्जा मिलती है, ताकत मिलती है। भारत ने भी अपने वैश्विक संबंधों को बनाने के डिप्लोमेटिक जो कुछ भी चैनल्स है उसके सिवाय जो हमें विरासत में मिली हुई शक्ति है उसका भी भरपूर उपयोग करना चाहिए। और ये संबंध बहुत लंबे अरसे तक परिणामकारी होते हैं। विश्व में जहां जहां भगवान बुद्ध की प्रेजेंस है, सामूहिक रूप से वे देश हमसे जुड़े रहे तो हमारी कितनी बड़ी ताकत बन सकती है। विश्व में जहां जहां राम और रामायण से संपर्क रहा है, जो लोग गर्व करते हैं, उसी एक तंतु के साथ उसको जोड़ करके आज उसको अगर संबंधों को विकसित किया जाए तो संबंध अपनेपन वाले बन जाते हैं और वो डिप्लोमेटिक रिलेशन से भी एक अधिक ताकतवर बन जाते हैं, एक नेक्स्ट लेवल उसका प्राप्त होता है। और उस अर्थ में ये प्रयास वैश्विक संबंधों को अधिक और गहरे करने के लिए, वैश्विक संबंधों को और अधिक व्यापक करने के लिए और वैश्विक संबंधों में एक अपनेपन के कमिटमेंट के एलिमेंट को जोड़ने के लिए बहुत ही उपकारक होंगे, ऐसा मैं मानता हूं। और इसको हमें अलग अलग तरीके से बढ़ाना भी चाहिए। ये एक जो पहलू है उसमें भारत की एक विशिष्ट शक्ति है, उसकी भी दुनिया को पहचान होती है कि हमारे पास विश्व को देने के लिए क्या कुछ नहीं है.
There's so much that India has to give to the world, and that's what our Prime Minister is saying. Vinayji, he has identified long ago this unique attribute, and earlier eras we had been shy about expressing ourselves, our cultural identity in the world. But now in the Modi era we managed to do that, and that's probably a reason why India comes across as more authentic now. Because we have gone back to our roots. So your thoughts on how we have marshaled, Prime Minister was saying that we should use all our cultural energies and rich heritage to make a mark on the world. So how effective have we been, you think, in the last few years, and what all have we been doing, especially under ICCR?
Yeah, I think Prime Minister has been providing us the guidance, direction, and telling kind of preparing a roadmap in a way as to how do we move ahead in the direction of strengthening our soft power. I'll give you one example. In 2014, Mr. Modi took over, and thereafter the ICCR started conducting an annual Ramayana festival. And for that Ramayana festival, we invite troops from various countries where Ramayana is a part of their traditions. Myanmar sends the troop, Thailand, Sri Lanka, then Indonesia, Malaysia, several countries send the troops. Japan, even Taiwan at times. So these things kept on happening. Sometime 3 years back or so, our office was struggling with the decision whether to send an invite to Brunei, because they were a little apprehensive, because Brunei is a 100% Islamic country, and whether they would be happy to send a Ramayana troop or not. We decided that let us send an invite. If they are desirous, they will send, otherwise they won't send. It's not mandatory. But much to our surprise and much to our pleasure, they sent a group, and the troop, Ramayana troop, performed very well, exceedingly well. And when over a cup of tea, some of our officials asked them, shared with them that we were a little hesitant whether you will come or not. We had some doubts about it. The person, the artist who had come from Brunei, told our officials that you are making a mistake. We have changed our religion, but our culture is the same. So that is the strength of the influence of Indian culture, whether it is Ramayana, Mahabharata, whether it is Ayurveda or Yoga. Let us take the example of Yoga. Now, of course, after having instituted 21st June as the International Yoga Day, the development of yoga is phenomenal. And every other country is now wanting the traditional knowledge that India, in a way, has developed. And therefore, all these dimensions of our soft power, as rightly explained and emphasized by the Prime Minister, we need to further cultivate. India's culinary and cuisine traditions.
Our traditional medicine.
Yeah, traditional medicine.
Ayurveda is now globally recognized as an alternative to the Western.
Precisely. And therefore, all these things, in fact, this year, when we will have our International Yoga Sciences Conference on Yogic Sciences, which we have been organizing for last 4 years, it's going to happen in Toronto, in Canada. And the theme is the role of yoga in combating the challenge of pandemic.
With mental health being such a big global problem,
certainly.
We have the solutions. Prime Minister has always been saying that, that be it extremism, terrorism, climate change,
and it is endless. Couple of years back, again inspired by the Prime Minister, we organized a webinar. It was Corona all around, so actual physical seminar simply was not possible. So we had a webinar, and the theme of the webinar was weaving relations through textile traditions. Because textile is something which has woven the texture of our humanity and the civilizational societies world over. And therefore, we had some 15 countries representing in that webinar. The Textile Minister of Bangladesh was there. Our Prime Minister also gave through video his message. And the First Lady of Korea was there. The Queen of Bhutan was there. So everybody wanted that we have to take together our textile traditions and enrich them further.
So, virtually weaving a network of thick relationships based on cultural similarities and affinities going back a long time. Vinayji, also Indian music, dance, cinema, I mean these are essential ingredients, especially of visual and performing arts. And in these fields also Indian artists have been making waves around the world, and they're very popular. You go to Africa, go to the Middle East, go to many parts of Asia. I mean Bollywood is #1. It's even ahead of Western movies or any other peer. So that aspect of contemporary art forms, which are of course linked to our long history with drama and theater and performance, how well are we being able to project these? I mean, some people say that we have these great talents, but they have not yet been fully projected, and we need to do a lot more to get the word out and spread the message about our visual and performing arts.
Yeah, I mean, sky is the limit, and there are takers practically everywhere. Recently, I had a chance of visiting Switzerland, and I came across a Swiss person who is for last 25 years conducting a Sarod class tutorial there in Switzerland, and he has thousands of students.
Thousands.
Similarly, some Indian ladies who have made Switzerland their home, they are teaching Bharatanatyam and Kathak there for last 35 years. Now we need to recognize them. In fact, let me tell you that ICCR has now devised a program which is called as Pratibha Sangam. And in every other country, we have chosen 7 genres, classical and vocal and instrumental music, from the Hindustani tradition and the Carnatic tradition as well, and 3 styles of Indian classical dance, which is Bharatanatyam, Kathak and Odishi. And in all these traditions, those who have excelled, we will be judging their performances below the age of 40, and we will be recognizing them. And then there will be a further round of recognizing the talents in a particular region, and all those who excel in a particular region, let's say Southeast Asia, let's say Europe or Latin America, we will have those people visiting India as a part of Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav. So this will be a real Pratibha Sangam.
Confluence of talents across the world, with India as the center. I mean, that's how we can become a big cultural center for the world. Vinayji, the diaspora, our diaspora is now more than 30 million strong worldwide, and they have also been big cultural ambassadors. You have engaged with a lot of them. You have tried to connect them to Mother India and to spread the message about our universal cultural values. How important is the diaspora, and your thoughts on this aspect?
Well, I have realized it that the diaspora in fact shapes the idea of India in a more prominent way than any other person. Because when they conduct themselves on a foreign soil, the way they behave, the way they come across, the way they get along with the local people, the way they maintain or rather preserve their identity as an Indian, that ultimately shapes the idea of India in the minds of the people where they are staying. And therefore, their role is extremely important. In fact, in a way, they are our cultural ambassadors, and we keep on appealing all the diaspora. In fact, whenever we require our teachers, yoga teacher or maybe dance teachers, we are now drawing them from the local NRI community over there, because hundreds of people are there who still, after having made a foreign country their place of their home. So even then they continue with the learning and the research or study of any dance tradition or music or whatever it is. And we need to recognize them. We are trying to rope them in our efforts at various centers. So that is also going on. And beyond doubt, NRI, now of course there is a new generation of such people of Indian origin who have taken birth in a different country.
Second, third generation.
Yeah.
So, viewers, the point is that India in the past had not been able to harness its diaspora well. Under Modi administration, what India has done is brought all these elements together and has given them a kind of a coherent structure and a mission. The mission is, of course, to promote the greatness of India. and to also for them to feel fulfilled, because they are being recognized, as Vinayji is saying. In the past they were just abandoned, so now we feel like they are part of this great cultural journey, and that's what we are witnessing around the world, the vibrant Indian diaspora. Talking of soft power, one of the aspects of soft power is also foreign policy and the conduct of foreign policy. That is also a source of soft power. So how is culture, Indian culture, influencing India's foreign policy and foreign relations and strategy around the world? I want you to hear our Prime Minister on this as well, and then we come back to Vinayji.
भगवान बुद्ध का एक एक वचन, एक एक उपदेश मानवता की सेवा में भारत की प्रतिबद्धता को मजबूत करता है। बुद्ध भारत के बोध और भारत के आत्मबोध दोनों का प्रतीक है। इसी आत्मबोध के साथ भारत निरंतर पूरी मानवता के लिए, पूरे विश्व के हित में काम कर रहा है और करता रहेगा। भारत की प्रगति हमेशा विश्व की प्रगति में सहायक होगी। साथियों, हमारी सफलता के पैमाने और लक्ष्य दोनों समय के साथ बदलते रहते हैं, लेकिन जो बात हमें हमेशा ध्यान रखनी है वो ये कि हमारा काम निरंतर सेवा भाव से ही होना चाहिए। जब दूसरे के लिए करुणा हो, संवेदना हो और सेवा का भाव हो, तो ये भावनाएं हमें इतना मजबूत कर देती हैं कि बड़ी से बड़ी चुनौती से आप पार पा सकते हैं। सुप्पबुद्धम पबुज्जन्ति सदा गौतम सावका, यानी जो दिन रात हर समय मानवता की सेवा में जुटे रहते हैं, वही बुद्ध के सच्चे अनुयायी हैं। यही भाव हमारे जीवन को प्रकाशमान करता रहे, गतिमान करता रहे।
Viewers, Prime Minister of India is saying service to humanity is the foremost purpose of India and India's engagement to the world. In fact, when it comes to rescue diplomacy, when it comes to supporting countries in need, India has never left any stone unturned. Vinayji, our culture, Prime Minister is talking about Buddha, compassion, service to humankind, and clearly that's reflected in the way we have done HADR, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, also supporting countries in need when they are in deep financial crisis. We have done all this, right?
So it is beyond doubt. I mean, what Prime Minister Modi has been saying, in a way he is resonating the voice of the civilisational values that are so very dear to our heart. He was talking about Buddhism, and let me tell you that the ICCR is now going to have annually a conference on Buddhist studies, and also we are going to recognize an institution or an individual who has done exceptional work in promoting Buddhist studies. So this is something which is an important part of our traditional knowledge system in a way. But beyond that also, as what he was very rightly referring to, our contribution with the sense of service, Indian peacekeeping forces internationally are famous for working very diligently, very dutifully, kind of selflessly, even sacrificing for that matter, or rescue operations, as you very rightly pointed out, even in Ukraine-Russia crisis. When people decided to unfurl the flag of India and then move ahead, people allowed them, whether they were Russians or Ukrainians, army men or common people, they made way for Indians, because that is the love and affection that Indians enjoy, and India as a country also enjoy. And therefore, our identity essentially is that of a person who believes that the entire world is his or her family.
A responsible global
Correct.
member of the global community.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Vinayji, also people say that, in foreign policy, all that really matters is military and economic might, but like we have discussed, soft power has become important, much more important, and now we've integrated into our foreign policy, and it's quite reflected now. You can see a shift in attitudes, global attitudes, barring some ideologically motivated corners in some parts of the world. The bulk of the societies in other parts of the world have grown to admire and respect India more in recent years. So your thoughts on this?
Certainly there is a change, and that change is happening because many more people are now looking at India with a different vision. And when somebody visits India, he becomes kind of an India lover, and the outlook changes, and there are several examples of it. But beyond all these things, what attracts people about India is that India comes across as a country which perhaps could be, as Yogi Arvind had once predicted, be a part of solutions for the entire global community. Whether it is sustainability, whether it is multiculturalism, whether it is one-upmanship as what we see, mindless competition, arm race, so on and so forth, India perhaps can definitely say that we are here to provide solutions, and with the feeling, with the sense that we are here to serve the humanity. That is something which, as I said, sets India apart from other nations, and that is something very, very important. You were saying about soft power and the influence of it. I would say that the very idea of soft power is something to do with the discovery of India. Why people set out, whether Columbus or whosoever, Vasco da Gama later on.
India,
yeah.
the fabled land.
Why? Because they were wanting to know from where the spices are coming. And spices are a significant ingredient of India's soft power. When the term soft power was not there, India possessed soft power. This is very important.
Yeah.
And soft power today has become important because people have realized that there are limitations to military might or economic prowesses. And therefore, they want to influence the global community with all important values, basically. Few decades back, there was discussion about American values. But Americanization has become kind of so very omnipresent in the world, and therefore many smaller countries are finding themselves in a crisis of identity.
Right.
If you go to Tel Aviv, you realize that you are in a Hebrew America, or if you go to China, you realize that you are in a Mandarin America. But that experience you will never get in Delhi or in Mumbai, because we have continued with our identity, and identity is a critical force, motivational force in the modern day as well. This is what even the sociologists today recognize.
So viewers, authenticity is important, identity is important. State should be able to express itself and reflect its contemporary as well as the past social values and heritage, and that's what India is trying to do. And Dr. Vinay Sahasrabudhe has been very kind and has shared many things with us, and I'm really, really grateful that he's given us time today. Sir, the work that the Indian Council for Cultural Relations under your leadership is doing is very, very valuable, and we hope that ICCR and its mission continues to grow, and that we have extraordinary success, because like you said, the soft power has always existed, but now we are trying to also use it strategically to enhance our prestige and stature in the current international system. Thank you, Vinayji. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Viewers, that's all we have for you in Indian Diplomacy this time. It was a special episode, but I'll be back with you again looking at India's relationship with another key country next time. Until then, take care.